All right, hello everyone, and welcome to our beef brunch for the week ending June the 24th. Got myself, Jason Holmes, in the northeast part of the state, Lee Falk over in the northwest, and Vince Deshotel down in the central and southwest area. We got a good bit to talk about with y'all this week. Good bit of happenings. Some folks catching a little bit of rain. We're recording this on Monday, the 27th, and several folks caught a little bit of rain yesterday on Sunday. So we'll jump right into our field reports. Vince, if you'll get us kicked off, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, Jason, and thank y'all for having me today. And yeah, the forecast looks a whole lot different than it did 3 or 4 days ago, even 2 days ago, with overcast clouds and a little breeze out the north this morning. It felt pretty good. And we did have some sporadic showers in the area yesterday afternoon, and anticipating more this evening. And I've looked at the radar multiple times today, and looks like in that 5, 6 o'clock area coming out of southwest Mississippi. We should see some showers in the central part of Louisiana and kind of running northeasterly to southwesterly. So hopefully we get some relief from that because it's awfully dry. Our pastures are pretty well burned up. Very minimal growth on any kind of hay production following that first cutting, or we're going to call a cleanup cutting, because a lot of folks didn't put minimal amounts of fertilizer or no fertilizer due to the cost involved. And kind of waiting to finish cleaning up and maybe get a change in our weather pattern to get some of those things in forward motion, because here we are pushing on July 1, and we don't have a lot of hay made, and our hay season, we've reached that first day of summer, and our days are going to start getting shorter, believe it or not, as we move forward. So things seem to be shortening up to some degree, and there's not enough hay made. I'll say that. As far as local cattle markets, numbers are really low. It's been so hot, but there ironically there are still people working some spring-born calves right now. I know of a set of 200 cattle cows were worked last Thursday in all that heat. I'm surprised they didn't lose cattle, but that's way too hot to be stressing cattle this time of the year to get some things done. But I think their main target was going through and palpating, getting those cull cows out and taking advantage of those high kill cow prices on cattle that have gained weight since the wintertime and springtime. We're still concentrating on that fertilizer uses and fuel costs. At near $5 a gallon on fuel, depending on price breaks from the distributors. People are just not doing a whole lot of stuff in our part of the world, and it's going to be very interesting to see how the fall shakes out. Ryegrass season, it seems like we're just getting out of it, but it's time to make some plans for ryegrass plantings. If you hadn't started talking to your distributors or your seed companies, you might want to do so, depending on what's available this year. Last year there were some seed shortages in areas. Depending on some of the restrictions and shipping infringements based on freight and what have you. It's going to be very interesting moving forward here in the next 60 days. So start making plans to, if you're going to plant some ryegrass, you might want to consider some minimal tillage or even some no-till. Some of these soil conservation districts who have no-till drills out there, I have a feeling their schedules are going to be pretty tight this year due to some of this, and minimizing some passes over the field where normally you see some prepared seed bed for some of these winter forages. It's kind of where we are. We to sum it up in our area, lack of hay. Again, some of our folks affected by Hurricanes Laura and Delta last year, Laura and Delta year before last, and Ida last year. We're still seeing a shortage of fencing materials where people are trying to get back on those marsh pastures. It's dry. They're able to do some work right now. They just can't get it done because of the shortage of materials, barbed wire and posts both. They can't use iron posts down in those brackish areas, because they just don't last, or they just can't get their hands on enough wood posts to get anything done. So we still have some infringements of shipping, and I guess the manufacturing and production of some of these products are just restricted, so deeply that we just can't make any progress there. So it'll be interesting moving forward. I just think like across the industry and the country, where we see these publications of some herd liquidations. I think we're going to see a bunch of that this fall. I mean, that's the talk. Some of these older, smaller producers that are just not going to sustain these high input costs, and can't and these cows that are fat and in good shape are going to bring $1,000-1,200. So I think we'll see some people get out. So be interested in to see how the cycle plays out. If the prices pick up, it seems like, Jason, I know you'll cover the commodity prices, but December corn and November soybeans are falling off a little bit. That's our new crop, beans and corn. So that may play a role into some hopefully some price increases for the cow-calf producer this fall on the spring run calves going to market. So that's about all I have. We're just hoping for some change in weather with this cooler little breeze we got and cloud cover, that we can get some of these showers and stuff to cover the area. Locally, they're predicting 1 to 2 inches in our area, so hopefully we get that.
Vance, what's the soybean crop look like in your part of the state?
It's pretty well burnt up. We got some stressed beans out there, and then beans that were planted early look really good. But everything is due a rain. We got some corn earworms getting into grain sorghum right now due to drought stress. Corn's cutting out early because of drought stress, but the crop is generally made. I would say I pulled a few ears on some irrigated corn 2-3 weeks ago, and it was done. It's just waiting to dry down. So, but that's about it. And just a reminder, our Master Cattleman program, we have one scheduled at what was used to be the Rospine Research Station, which is now the Beauregard Extension Office there at Rospine, to start August 1st. We'll take registrations until July 15th, with the first anticipated class to begin August 1st and wrap up October the 6th. That's running every Thursday night from 6 to 9 p.m. So if there's anybody out there interested, you can contact us through the information and links we have on this recording, and we'll get you registered up.
All right. Thank you, Vince. I think we've also got another Master Cattleman class that's going to be offered beginning in September over on the southeast side of the state. I think Dr. Donna Gentry is going to be offering one, but we'll make sure that we get Dr. Edwards to put links to your class there at Rospine, and also to Dr. Gentry's. It'll be held there in southeast part of the state also. Appreciate that, Vince. Lee, we'll turn it over to you, bud.
Thank you, Jason. Glad to be with y'all today. Hot and mostly dry with a little bit of rain has been the story up this way. Rain has been spotty. A lot of folks got some beneficial rains yesterday, but not everybody. Looking forward into the forecast, it's looking like we're going to pick up some more significant rains, possibly into this upcoming weekend, maybe in the 4th of July plans. And I can tell y'all, I sure don't mind foregoing my fireworks plans if it means a good inch and a half of rain over about 2 days. I could sure stand that. The story weather related is the temperatures. My goodness, it has been unrelenting for the last 7-10 days. Jason, I can't remember, but probably about 10 days, I guess, solid. We're not talking about in the mid 90s. We're talking about up to the century mark and above. I read a deal from the National Weather Service in Shreveport. We broke the all-time high for high temperature in June a couple of days ago, where the Shreveport Airport experienced 105 degrees. Ladies and gentlemen, that's getting serious when we get up in that territory, especially with the humidity levels. And these pastures are just toasted. That's the best way to put it, just toasted out. The folks that have been lucky and have gotten a little bit of rain here and there, it doesn't take long for that soil moisture to get on out of here when you get up into those high temperatures. And what that's done is it's brought hay production just to a screeching halt. There's a lot of people that have made some hay. Yields have been greatly reduced. I would say those that have been able to get them out there. And I was visiting with fella this morning said that he would much rather be fighting army worms and wet pastures than he would what he's been fighting now, which is nothing. Just no forage production. With that being said, I guess going and cross army worms off the list as of right now. Jason may have seen some over in his corner in North Louisiana, but in Northwest, those little fellows have a hard time crawling around in weather like this. I can tell you that. But with the temperatures moderating a little bit, I think today here, I'm here at the Hill Farm Research Station in Homer. Right now, as we're recording this on a Monday, we're in the low 90s right now, and not too bad out there. This weather has been tough on people trying to wean some calves. Last time we visited, we talked about the fact that most of these fall-born calves have already been pulled off cows and marketing decisions made, but not all of them. There's still a few that have had to suffer in this heat and had to stand in some pens, and it's sure been a trying experience. I just want to add on to some of what Vince said about these input costs, and we've been talking about them solid on these reports for months now. And when you talk to people, you're starting to see people have to prioritize and make decisions every time they step out into the field and have to make a decision on if they're going to crank a tractor or not, if they're going to spend the money on fertilizer or not. The folks are having to make some hard decisions, and you all know that. Listening in on these reports, if you're listening to it, you have some interest in beef production or cattle production. So you know what I'm saying is true. When we're talking about $4.75 to $5 farm fuel on this diesel, it makes you sit up and think if you really need to accomplish that task with that tractor or not, or whether you can get by and leave it parked for a while. A lot of cattle have been marketed, despite the hot weather. Seen kind of a resurgence of cattle sales. I would say some pretty decent sized receipts at local auction barns. But to add on what Vince stated, been a lot of herd sellouts. I mean, a lot of them. Had the opportunity last week. I was down in the Coshada area and across the river over in the Armistead and sat in and watched the sale there at Red River Livestock for a while. And I saw good stocker cow after good stocker cow flow through that ring. It was pretty tremendous, and the stories behind them. There was a lot of sellouts due to lack of grass or whatnot, and so I fear what Vince has said there in his portion of this update is going to ring true. These small cattle producers, these 40, 50, 60 head folks that really make up the backbone of our cattle production, they're finding it harder and harder to stay in business, especially with these input prices, and then you add in the weather and the prospect of not having enough hay or having to buy hay at goodness knows the price this fall and winter. It doesn't make the cattle business sound very appealing. Now, I hate to be all doom and gloom, and so I guess I need to change gears just a little bit. Had the opportunity last week and past weekend, was able to travel down to New Orleans and visit with the folks down at the Farm Bureau Convention. It was their 100th year. They put on a really good convention, some good meetings. They had some good speakers. Thoroughly enjoyed it. What I enjoyed most though was getting to visit with several folks, some friends of ours and folks that regularly watch our news updates, and they don't mind telling us they appreciate it. And I just want to say thank you for watching it and everything, and kudos to Farm Bureau on a good meeting. And I'm going to end with one other thing, Jason, real briefly. If you're on social media a lot, you've seen quite an uproar about cattle deaths in Kansas. And this has been a hot topic over the last couple of weeks. And there was a short video that was put out that showed a bunch of dead Angus type cattle lined up. and there were some misleading headings on it, and a lot of shares on social media, and a lot of conspiracy theory type posts about what happened to these cattle, why did they die. And without going off into too much of a tangent or giving you too much of a backstory on feedlots, I think everybody watching this video pretty well knows uh, what the feedlot industry is and everything. But most of these feedlots that are in the Great Plains or the High Plains regions, it's a really arid environment. They're not used to having humidity levels to speak of. Mostly dry, mostly windy. In that part of the country where those feedlots are located, such as Southwest Kansas, it's rare to find a day when the wind didn't blow it. And they experienced a weather event a couple of weeks ago now where they had high temperatures, which is not out of the ordinary for there. They'll have high temperatures like we will, but what the problem was and what led to as many cattle deaths in a few feedlots in that region was the fact that they had tremendously high humidity levels. They experienced quite a bit of rainfall, and us being from Louisiana, we know what happens whenever you get rainfall and hot temperatures. It gets plumb unbearable. The temperatures got very high down in those pens. The pens were muddy. These pens, these feedlots do not have shade or much of anything in the way of shelter because they don't need it. All but a few weeks out of the year would they even remotely need it. The cattle didn't have any way to cool themselves really, and they lost a lot of cattle. But I just wanted to bring that out and kind of air it out a little bit so that everybody can kind of understand that I love a good conspiracy theory, and I like to. A lot of them tend to be true, but in this instance, this was just a weather event, plain and simple. Talked to numerous people in the industry that feed cattle, or talked to one fellow that owns a feedlot. In fact, a family friend of ours, and plain and simple, this was a weather event. So just kind of take it with a grain of salt. Not everything you see on social media is true, and it's a dangerous thing when folks that don't know anything about our industry get to sharing and dabbling in this. So with that being said, I'll turn it back over to you, Jason.
Jason, just to kind of follow up what Lee said, some of the indications and the reports that we got that fed into that situation, it was 130 degrees on the ground in those pens, and it didn't cool off to below 100 degrees at night for 3 nights. And those cattle just couldn't sustain that amount of humidity and that level of temperature. Their body temperatures just never cooled down, and they couldn't sustain it.
Yeah, and the one thing, Lee, that to add to that is the majority of those cattle were finished. I mean, they were just about ready to be harvested, and that just added to it. Well, I appreciate that report, Lee. And our the northeast side of the state, if you looked at some of the radar late yesterday evening, yesterday afternoon, a lot of the northeast part of the state caught some much needed rainfall yesterday, and it couldn't have come any sooner. We got back from church yesterday, and I looked at my thermometer when I walked into the house, and it read and this was underneath the porch now, a nice cool 103 underneath the porch. So it was it couldn't have happened any time sooner. And as Vince stated, that north wind today has sure kept us cooler, and we are welcoming that. But and if you do not have the hay that you're going to need for this coming winter, the prognosis or the outlook for that is not very good right now. And as Lee said, we try not to just get too down in the dumps about stuff, but this hay situation is not real good. And folks that are normally well into their second cutting, they've already got a third cutting on their brain up here, and they just and we're just now getting into the second cutting for some folks, and I think those are few and far between, just because we've just not made the grass this summer that we need. And the only spot that I've heard of anybody spraying any armyworms is over close to you, Lee, over between Arcadia and Simsboro. Somebody actually sprayed some, had a little isolated spot, but that's the only spot I've heard of anybody putting out any chemical. Everybody's got their chemical on hand. They're ready, but armyworm is starved to death out there right now. They're just not a whole lot for them to eat. Looking at our markets, so most of you are probably aware that we got our latest cattle on feed that came out this past Friday. So it showed June 1st feedlot inventories at 11.8 million head. So that's 1.2% up from last year. Among the leading cattle feeding states, number one is Texas. They were up 3% year over year. Number two out there is Nebraska. They were up 4% year over year. Number three is Kansas. They were down 1% from last year. Number four, Colorado, was up 1% from last year. So those four states, you're looking at representing 76.5% of the total feedlot inventories for the U.S. Marketings in May were 1.91 million head. That's 2.4% above 2021. And May placements were 1.87 million head, which is 2.1% below 2021. We're all still waiting on the day that we're going to get a bullish cattle on feed. We continue to get these bearish reports. There's several different speculations out there why we're continuing to get these bearish reports. High placement numbers of lightweight cattle. So if you look at the placements under 700 pounds, those placements are up almost, or a little over 3%. Number of heifers that are being diverted into feedlots, just because we are in a decline in the nationwide cattle herd. We're getting a lot of those heifers. That's two of the biggest ones that rise to the top. But we continue to wait on a different type report, because we just don't see how this cattle on feed can maintain as high as it is going into the future months. But we shall see. This past week's slaughter was 660,000 head, even with the previous week, and only a little bit larger than last year for the same week. The past week's larger slaughter volumes have put ample beef into the marketplace. Retailers will remain cautious when making purchases after 4th of July. They don't want a lot of excess inventory, just in case consumer demand does slump off a little bit after the 4th of July holiday. So in my mind, it'll be interesting to see after the 4th of July, will retailers forfeit some of their margins to keep producers or keep consumers coming back to the beef counter? So everybody's pinched right now. All consumers are being pinched by high food prices. They're pinched with high gas prices. So what are retailers going to do to keep those folks coming back to that beef counter to purchase beef? So it'll be interesting to see if they give up some of those margins to keep folks coming back. Choice box beef closed the week at $266.05. That's down $2.27, with a choice select spread of $20.25. That's down $1.70 from the previous week, and $1.86 higher than the 5-year average for the same week. In the National Weekly Direct Slaughter Cattle Negotiated Purchasers Report, they had a confirmed 94,598 head. In the Texas Panhandle for the week, trading was slow to moderate with light to moderate demand. Bulk of live purchases traded from $1.37 to $1.38. In Kansas for the week, trading was moderate, where the bulk of live purchases traded $2 to $3 lower, from $1.37 to $1.38, with a few up to $1.41. In Nebraska for the week, trading was active on good demand. Live purchases traded steady to $3 higher, from $1.45 to $1.48, with a few up to $1.50. In Colorado, trading and demand were moderate for the week, and live purchases traded steady at $1.45. In the Western Corn Belt, trading and demand were also moderate with good demand for the week. Live purchases traded steady to $5 higher from $1.45 to $1.50. Live cattle futures market settlements in the front months ended the week with June up 10 cents at 135.60, August down 50 cents at 133.37, and October down 25 cents at 139.75. So as we compare that to the week open, we ended the week about $2 to $3 lower. 5 to 600 pound steers, medium and large ones and twos, sold between 159 and 179. So that's generally $3 lower when we compare to the previous week. I can tell you that I cheated a little bit, so I pulled up Oklahoma City report today. It appears that folks are trying to get some cattle in their coffers, getting prepared for the shutdown. So a lot of these markets will not be open the early part of next week. They'll be closing for the 4th of July. So it looks like a lot of them are trying to pick up some cattle. So prices were a little bit better at Oklahoma City today. 700 to 800 pound feeder steers, medium and large ones and twos, sold between 132 and 160. So $4 to $8 lower when compared to the previous week. On that same class of cattle, futures market settlements in the front month ended the week with August trading down $2.35 at 172.50, September down $1.77 at 175.07, and October down $1.55 at 177.07. So as we compare that to the week open, they closed mostly steady when compared to the week closing. Lean coil cows, so that's those in thin condition, ended the week down a penny at 76 cents. Bony utility, those in moderate condition, ended the week down a penny at 87 cents. And breakers, that's those in high condition, ended the week up a penny at 89 cents. So we're still seeing a pretty strong coil cow market. And our feed stuff, so this is a time of year that we do normally see some downward trends in our feedstuff markets. Commodities tend to start trading down a little bit this time of year. And most everything right now, commodity wise, is just sitting back waiting to see what our estimated yields are going to be, what that crop condition stays in nationwide. Do they continue to get rains across the Corn Belt? So all of that's going to play into the crop condition and estimated yields going forward. And soybean meal is down $3 at $469.10 a ton. Soybean hulls are steady at $155 a ton. Rice bran is steady at $190 a ton. Cottonseed meal down $25 at $365 a ton. Whole cottonseed is steady at $450 a ton. Corn gluten feed, that's the 60% product, is down $10 at $755 a ton. DDG is down $6 at $269 a ton. And as Vince stated a while ago on corn, it's down 42 cents at $7.02 a bushel. So with that being said, unless one of y'all's got anything else to add, we certainly appreciate y'all. As Lee said, we appreciate y'all taking the time to listen to these reports. You've got a number of different ways that you can listen to that, thanks to Dr. Edwards and her being a whole lot more media savvy than all three of us combined are. But we appreciate that, and we appreciate y'all listening. We'll have a couple of links. So we got a Beef Brunch Educational Series webinar coming up the first part of August. We'll have another one of these reports out for you in a couple of weeks, and we'll definitely add the links to the Master Cattleman classes that'll be beginning up in September. We'll get those added into the links as well. So we appreciate y'all joining us. We'll see y'all again in a couple of weeks.